Tonight's menu features the cooked heart of a man who died on crusade, served to the woman who loved him. The chef is her husband. But first, if you don't subscribe after this story, I'll assume you're the kind of person who thinks medieval revenge cuisine is perfectly normal behavior. So here's the thing about medieval France. People wrote love poetry, they sang songs, they went on crusades, and occasionally, if you were really unlucky, someone turned your internal organs into a three-course meal. This is the story of Raoul de Coucy, a real historical guy who lived in the late 12th century, wrote troubadour poetry, owned a castle, and had the profound misfortune of falling in love with someone else's wife. Her name was the Dame de Fayel. Now, Raoul was what they called a trouvère, which is just the northern French version of a troubadour. He wrote poetry, he composed songs. He was, by all accounts, quite good at being charming and romantic in that medieval, courtly love sort of way where you pine dramatically and write verses about how your beloved's eyes are like stars or whatever. The Dame de Fayel apparently appreciated this. Her husband, the Seigneur de Fayel, did not. At some point, Raoul did what any self-respecting medieval nobleman did when things got complicated at home. He went on crusade. This was the medieval equivalent of saying, I need some space, except with significantly more armed conflict and a much lower survival rate. And indeed, Raoul did not survive. He got hit with a poisoned arrow in the Holy Land, which is the kind of detail that really makes you question the whole crusading enterprise. You travel thousands of miles to fight for your faith, and you get taken out by a poisoned arrow, like some kind of tragic side character. But here's where it gets specific. As Raoul was dying, he made a request to his companion, a guy named Gobert. He wanted his heart, his actual physical heart, removed from his body and delivered to the Dame de Fayel. This is romantic in theory. In practice, it's asking your friend to become a long-distance organ courier, which seems like a lot. Gobert, being a loyal companion, agreed. He had Raoul's heart removed, preserved it for travel, and set off back to France with what was arguably the least convenient piece of luggage in medieval history. Now, the Seigneur de Fayel had presumably spent this entire time being aware that his wife had been receiving love poetry from another man. When he learned that Raoul had died and that someone was en route with a very specific delivery, he did what any reasonable person would do. He intercepted the heart, obviously. But he didn't just intercept it, he took it to the kitchen, he had it prepared. And by prepared, I mean he had it minced very finely and seasoned with sugar and cinnamon. The medieval romances are very clear about this. The heart was de haquiller tant menuement et si bien à savourer et de chocolat et de cinnamon, which translates to minced extremely finely and flavored so well with sugar and cinnamon. This man had a recipe, he had a plan, he had spices, then he served it to his wife at a feast. She ate it. She apparently told him it was the best dish she'd ever eaten, which is the kind of irony that medieval writers absolutely lived for. After she finished, he told her what she'd just consumed, the heart of her lover, seasoned to perfection, served with his compliments. The Dame de Fayel, upon learning that she had just unknowingly eaten the man she loved, died of grief. Not immediately, presumably, because that's not how grief works, but the medieval sources are very clear that the revelation unalived her. The husband was exiled, which feels like a somewhat mild consequence for cooking and serving someone's preserved organs as an act of revenge, but medieval justice was apparently more concerned with the affair than the culinary atrocity. And here's the part that makes this whole thing even weirder. Raoul de Coucy was a real person. He really was a trouvère. He really did write poetry. But this whole eaten heart episode, it was fictionalized in 13th century romances. Writers took this real historical figure and wove him into a story that became the medieval version of a viral legend. The cœur mangé, or eaten heart motif, shows up in multiple texts, including one called Quer d'amours esprits. It became a whole genre. Apparently, medieval audiences loved this kind of thing. Courtly love, tragic death, culinary horror, exile. It had everything. So you've got a real guy whose life got turned into a story so unhinged that centuries later, people are still trying to figure out where the history ends and the fiction begins. But the fact remains that medieval writers looked at the concept of a jealous husband intercepting his rival's heart, seasoning it with cinnamon and sugar, and serving it to his wife, and thought, yes, this is the content people want. And they were right, because here we are. If your spouse ever served you something suspiciously well seasoned and then looked at you with quiet satisfaction, would you A, compliment the chef, B, ask what's in it first, or C, just become a vegetarian right there at the table? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay unhinged.